"Impossible," whispered Ambassador Vexlar, compound eyes dilating in disbelief. "The Death Bristler's toxin dissolves protective gear in seconds. We've lost researchers who merely brushed against them." Elena looked down at the purring creature, its iridescent spines now flattened in contentment against her palm. "It feels like petting a warm hairbrush," she said with a shrug. "Slightly prickly, but not unpleasant." Medical Officer Sanjay Patel stepped forward, scanning the creature with his handheld medical analyzer. "Captain, the spines are indeed secreting a complex neurotoxin, but something in your skin oils is neutralizing it on contact. The chemical reaction is fascinating." The alien delegation kept a safe distance, their body language displaying various forms of shock, horror, and intense scientific curiosity. A hovering translator unit struggled to keep up with their overlapping exclamations. "We must study this phenomenon immediately," declared Cathal, the Council's chief cynobiologist. The slender, blue-skinned alien's cranial ridges pulsed with excitement. "With your permission, Captain Reyes, we would like to conduct non-invasive tests on volunteer human subjects." Commander Sarah Okafor, Elena's second-in-command, leaned close to whisper, "This could be diplomatically significant, Captain. Their reaction suggests no other species has this ability." Elena nodded, gently placing the Death Bristler into a containment unit, an aide nervously extended toward her. "The Horizon and her crew are at your disposal for scientific collaboration, Ambassador. Humanity is eager to understand our place in the galactic community." As the formal diplomatic proceedings resumed, Elena noticed the aliens watching her hands with newfound fascination. What seemed ordinary to humans was apparently extraordinary to the rest of the galaxy. Hours later, in the Horizon's laboratory section, human volunteers sat patiently as alien scientists conducted their tests. Cathal's team had brought aboard samples of various creatures considered dangerous throughout Council space. Under careful supervision, humans demonstrated their ability to handle them safely. "Your epidermis produces compounds unlike anything we've catalogued in known species," Cathal explained, examining data streaming across holographic displays. "When combined with your unique cellular structure, it creates a biological barrier against most contact toxins." Lieutenant Chen grinned as he stroked what appeared to be a floating jellyfish with tendrils of shifting colors. "Where we come from, this would be just another Tuesday at the aquarium." The alien scientists exchanged glances of astonishment. "Your planet must be extraordinarily dangerous if evolution selected for such defensive capabilities," observed a reptilian researcher named Salik. "Earth has a remarkable biodiversity," agreed Dr. Puttle. "Thousands of venomous species evolved alongside us. Perhaps our ancestors who survived were those who developed resistances." Ambassador Vexlar, who had been watching silently, stepped forward. "The Council must be informed immediately. This changes many assumptions about potential human contributions to galactic society." Elena felt a mixture of pride and concern. First Contact was proceeding peacefully, but humanity's biological quirk clearly disrupted established norms. As the Death Bristler continued purring in its containment field, occasionally reaching spines toward her, as if seeking more pets, she wondered what other surprises awaited in this vast alien universe. "Permission to transmit findings to the Council homeworlds," Cathal requested formally. "Granted," Elena replied, unaware that her simple act of petting what couldn't be touched would soon reshape humanity's cosmic destiny. Lieutenant James Chen couldn't help but smile as the massive thunderclaw beast leaned into his touch. The creature was the size of a rhinoceros, covered in metallic scales that crackled with visible electrical energy. 3 Council security officers watch from behind a reinforced barrier, their environmental suits fully activated despite being 10 meters away. "He's actually enjoying this," Chen said, scratching behind a ridge that appeared to be an auditory organ. The beast's 6 eyes half closed in what seemed like pleasure, its electrical field pulsing in a slower, more rhythmic pattern. "Remarkable," Kithel murmured, recording every moment. "The electrical discharge would paralyze most species instantly. Yet you report only a mild tingling sensation." "Like holding a weak massage device," Chen confirmed. "Actually feels kind of nice." The video feed transmitted live across Council space went viral within hours. 17 billion sapient beings watched in stunned amazement as humans casually handled creatures their civilizations had classified as untouchable. Medical research stations across the galaxy requested human tissue samples for study, while entertainment networks clamored for exclusive access to what they called the touching phenomena. Back aboard the Horizon, Captain Elena Reyes faced an unexpected diplomatic challenge as representatives from 7 Council species arrived with formal requests. The Mekara Collective has 18 species of crystalline flora that no Mekaran can touch without severe cellular damage, explained Ambassador Loom, their translucent body rippling with color patterns. "Our scientists have studied them only through robotic proxies for millennia. The possibility of direct caretaking by humans would revolutionize our xenobotany research." Similar requests poured in. The aquatic Ventari needed help with deep-sea creatures whose toxins penetrated their gill membranes. The methane-breathing Doth had evolved without solid-state manipulation appendages and sought human assistance with handling solid specimens they could otherwise only observe. "We're becoming the galaxy's pet sitters," Commander Okafor remarked during the senior staff meeting. Dr. Patel displayed his latest findings on the central holographic projector. "It's more significant than that. Our biochemistry appears uniquely adapted to interact with diverse biological systems without triggering defense mechanisms. The evolutionary implications are profound." Elena studied the diplomatic opportunities thoughtfully. This could position humanity favorably within Council space. "We've been concerned about having little to offer technologically advanced species, but this biological trait gives us a unique niche." The discussion was interrupted when Lieutenant Chen arrived with Kethal. The alien scientist vibrated with excitement, cranial ridges flashing rapid patterns. "We've made an extraordinary discovery," Kethal announced. "When human skin contact neutralizes toxins, it doesn't merely render them harmless, it converts many compounds into chemically beneficial forms. The Thunderclaw's electrical discharge appears to synthesize with human bioelectrical fields to create a symbiotic energy exchange." "Meaning?" Elena asked. "Meaning these creatures aren't just tolerating human contact, they are benefiting from it," Chen explained. "That's why they seek it out. We're not just immune, we're providing something they need." News of this discovery spread rapidly through diplomatic channels. Within days, the Horizon received a formal invitation from the Council High Chamber. Humanity was requested to establish a specialized biological interaction team to assist with creature management across multiple worlds. Only one species registered official concern. The Kresh Empire's diplomatic communique was brief but pointed. "The biological anomalies of humanity require careful monitoring to prevent ecosystem disruption and unforeseen consequences." As Elena prepared her crew for their expanded mission, she couldn't help but wonder if humanity's gentlest trait might somehow become its most controversial. The crystalline arthropods of Taraxi Prime glittered like living jewels as they scuttled across Chen's outstretched arms. Local Taraxians watched from behind protective barriers, their four-fingered hands pressed against the transparent material in wonder. These creatures, responsible for 17 deaths during the current outbreak, moved docilely under human touch. Their exoskeletons contain silicon-carbon lattices that shatter Taraxian nervous tissue on contact, explained Dr. Maya Santos, the xenobiologist assigned to the Pet Whisperers team. But human skin absorbs and disperses the piezoelectric charge they generate. Chen guided the creatures into specialized containment units, where they would be relocated to wilderness preserves away from Taraxian settlements. His team had contained outbreaks in 3 major cities in just 2 weeks, work that would have taken the Taraxians months using robotic systems. The Biomedical Research Division has authorized unlimited human access to our genetic modification laboratories, announced Premier Vix, the Taraxian leader, during the formal thank you ceremony. Your species has accomplished in days what would have cost countless lives and resources. Captain Elena Reyes accepted the accolades diplomatically, though her attention remained partially focused on Commander Skaz, the Kresh Empire's scientific observer. The reptilian officer had shadowed the human team since their arrival, his scales shifting in patterns that Elena's cultural briefing identified as indicating intense scrutiny. Later, in the temporary human embassy, Elena found Skaz accessing a terminal in a restricted area. The security fields had been deactivated using high-level override codes. This section contains confidential medical data on human biochemistry, Elena said, blocking his exit path. Your credentials don't authorize access. Skaz's vertical pupils narrowed to slits. A scientific interest only, Captain. Your species presents unusual biological questions. Questions you could have asked directly, Elena countered, noticing how his clawed hand moved subtly toward a concealed weapon, instead of hacking our systems. The standoff ended when Lieutenant Rodriguez and 2 security officers appeared at the doorway. Skaz straightened to his full height, nearly brushing the ceiling. The Kresh Empire has dominated interstellar relations for 6 centuries through biological superiority, he said, making no attempt to deny the intrusion. Our immunity to certain toxic species enabled us to deploy bioweapons no other species could handle. Now humans arrive, touching the untouchable, disrupting established hierarchies. We're just helping with pest control, Elena replied evenly. Nothing that threatens your empire. Skaz's jaw ridges flared in what the briefing materials identified as derisive amusement. A species that can touch the untouchable disturbs the natural order. The strong survive by being untouchable. After Skaz departed under escort, Elena received an urgent communication from Council headquarters. 6 more worlds requested immediate human assistance with biological containment situations. Meanwhile, intelligence briefings indicated increased Kresh military activity near human space. They're afraid of us, Chen observed during the senior staff meeting. Not of our weapons or technology, but of our ability to simply pet things. Dr. Santos nodded. Throughout their history, the Kresh have systematically collected and weaponized dangerous species. Their military facilities are guarded by creatures so toxic that other species can't approach without protective gear that often fails. Elena studied the latest intelligence reports with growing concern, and we just walk right through their defenses with our bare hands. Their entire strategic advantage is neutralized by a child petting a kitten, Commander Okafor added. As the Horizon prepared to depart for their next mission, Elena received a personal message from Ambassador Vexlar. Exercise caution. The Kresh do not relinquish advantages easily. What you consider compassion, they see as a weapon. Elena watched the stars through the viewport, wondering how humanity's gentlest trait had become their most threatening asset in the eyes of the galaxy's oldest empire. The Void Stalker's semi-transparent body pulsed with bioluminescent patterns as it phased partially through Chen's arm, then solidified just enough for physical contact. Gasps rippled through the gathering of council diplomats, watching from behind the safety barriers. They're primarily composed of exotic matter, Chen explained to the amazed onlookers as he gently stroked the creature's fluid form. They shift between solid and non-solid states at will. Most species can't touch them because they instinctively phase through anything they perceive as threatening. Ambassador Vexlar's compound eyes reflected the creature's shifting colors. Yet it allows you contact. Remarkable. They're actually quite affectionate once they trust you, Chen replied as the Void Stalker wrapped tendrils around his wrist, leaving a pleasant cooling sensation. They're native to nebula regions with radiation levels that would kill most species. The temperature differential between their bodies and ours seems to create a pleasant sensation for them. The Touch exhibition had become Station Harmony's most visited attraction during the Council's summit. 3 separate demonstration areas featured humans interacting with creatures long considered untouchable. Dr. Santos supervised the invertebrate section, where she demonstrated proper handling techniques for toxic arthropods from 7 worlds. Commander Okafor managed the aquatic display, showing how certain bioluminescent deep-sea predators responded to human touch by producing enhanced light patterns useful for medical imaging. Elena noticed Commander Skaz observing from the shadows, his reptilian features unreadable as he studied each demonstration. When their eyes met, he didn't look away or acknowledge her, simply continuing his calculated observation. The first sign of trouble came when the environmental systems in the exhibition hall flickered momentarily. Elena was discussing diplomatic protocols with the Ventari ambassador when alarm klaxons shattered the civilized atmosphere. Red emergency lighting bathed the chamber as containment field indicators flashed warning symbols. Multiple containment failures detected, announced the station's security system. Hazardous biological specimens loose in Exhibition Hall Alpha. All non-human personnel evacuate immediately. Panic erupted instantly. Diplomats and officials from dozens of species rushed toward the exits, while security personnel attempted to maintain order. Elena saw Skaz slipping away through a service corridor, his mouth ridges forming what she now recognized as the Kresh expression of satisfaction. Chen, status report. Elena shouted over the commotion, activating her communication implant. All specimens in sections 1 and 2 are loose, Chen responded, his voice remarkably calm. The containment fields failed simultaneously. Has to be deliberate sabotage. Focus on the Void Stalker, Elena ordered. It's the only one that can move through walls. The rest we can contain in this chamber. The human team moved with practiced coordination, each heading toward different specimens. Unlike the panicking aliens, they approached the loose creatures confidently, bare hands extended. Dr. Santos knelt before a cluster of razor beetles, whose crystalline mandibles could slice through standard body armor, calmly gathering them into a portable container. Elena accessed the station's security systems, confirming her suspicions. The containment field generators had been reprogrammed to fail simultaneously. The emergency backup systems had also been disabled with high-level Kresh security codes. In a maintenance shaft 2 levels below the exhibition hall, Chen found the Void Stalker huddled against a coolant pipe. Rather than attempting to escape, the creature reached tentative tendrils toward him, emitting distressed bioluminescent pulses. "You're scared by all the commotion, aren't you?" Chen whispered, extending his hand. The creature immediately flowed around his fingers, seeking comfort. "Let's get you somewhere quiet." Station security footage revealed SCAS accessing critical systems shortly before the incident. When confronted by Elena and Council security officers, the Kresh commander made no attempt to deny his actions. "Your species upsets the balance of power," he stated coldly. "Some threats should remain threatening. The Council will understand this eventually." As SCAS was escorted away, Elena received an urgent message from Earth Command. Kresh warships had begun moving toward human space. Admiral Zeo's holographic form flickered slightly as she delivered the intelligence briefing to Elena's team. "The Kresh have established a blockade at these coordinates." She indicated red markers on the stellar map. 7 Dreadnought-class vessels, supported by fighter squadrons. "They're making a statement." "Not just a statement," Elena replied, studying the tactical display. "They've positioned their forces to intercept shipping lanes between Earth and our new research outposts in the Procyon sector." The emergency meeting aboard the Horizon included representatives from 4 Council species who had pledged support to humanity. Ambassador Vexelar's compound eyes reflected the tactical hologram as he spoke. "The Council remains divided on intervention. The Kresh Empire controls significant trade routes and has enforced interstellar stability for centuries. Many species are reluctant to challenge them directly." Dr. Santos pulled up her latest research findings on a secondary display. "We've confirmed our initial hypothesis about Kresh military strategy. They've systematically collected dangerous biological specimens from across the galaxy, weaponizing them as living defense systems. Their installations are surrounded by zones of toxic flora and fauna that make conventional military approaches impossible." "Until humans entered the picture," Chen added. Elena nodded grimly. "Our immunity doesn't just neutralize their advantage, it renders their entire strategic doctrine obsolete." Commander Okafor forwarded a classified intelligence report to everyone's displays. This was obtained by Council intelligence operatives within Kresh territory. They'd been collecting Earth specimens for months, everything from box jellyfish to black mambas to blue-ringed octopuses. The images showed sterile laboratory facilities where Kresh scientists in protective gear studied Earth's deadliest creatures. Another section revealed genetic manipulation chambers where splicing technology was clearly being utilized. "They're trying to engineer toxins that can penetrate human defenses," Dr. Santos concluded, essentially creating anti-human bioweapons. A priority communication alert interrupted the briefing. The main view screen activated to display a Kresh official whose elaborate scale patterns identified him as High Commander Vrask, Supreme Military Leader of the Empire. "Captain Reyes, the Kresh Commander began without preamble. The Kresh Dominion Council has reached a unanimous decision regarding humanity's disruptive presence in Council space." Elena straightened, maintaining diplomatic composure despite the implied threat. "The Horizon acknowledges your transmission, High Commander." Vrask's vertical pupils narrowed to thin black lines against yellow irises. "Effective immediately, all human vessels and personnel are restricted to your home solar system. Your biological anomalies present an unacceptable destabilizing influence. The natural order of galactic security depends on certain species remaining untouchable. You upset this balance." "Our ability harms no one," Elena countered. "We've helped dozens of worlds manage biological threats that existed in balance," Vrask interrupted. "Your interference disrupts ecosystems and power structures established over millennia. The Kresh Empire has maintained stability through biological deterrence. Your continued expansion threatens this equilibrium. Ambassador Vexlar stepped forward. The Council has not authorized this restriction, High Commander. The Kresh Empire does not speak for all members. The Council will adapt to realities, Vrask replied coldly. Humanity will restrict its activities to Earth's solar system, or the consequences will be severe. You have 14 standard cycles to comply. The transmission ended abruptly, leaving a tense silence on the horizon's bridge. They're afraid, Chen said finally. For the first time in their history, someone can simply walk through their biological defenses with bare hands. Elena turned to Admiral Zeo's hologram. Admiral, what's Earth Command's position? We won't be intimidated, Zeo replied firmly. But we need to proceed carefully. The Kresh bioweapons research is deeply concerning. As the meeting continued, Elena received a priority alert from their intelligence division. Surveillance drones had detected a Kresh Special Operations team approaching a remote human research outpost on Proxima Centauri IV, a facility specializing in Earth's marine toxicology research. They're making their first move, Elena realized with growing alarm, not against our military assets, but against our scientists. The stealth vessel Shadow Reach glided silently through the ionized gas clouds surrounding the Kresh research facility. Its advanced cloaking technology, enhanced by Council scientists sympathetic to humanity's cause, rendered it nearly undetectable to Kresh sensors. Perimeter defenses as expected, Lieutenant Rodriguez reported from the tactical station. Living barriers surrounding all entry points, plasma vipers on the north quadrant, acid spitters to the east, and what appear to be modified Earth specimens in the southern approach. Elena studied the sensor readings with Chen and Dr. Santos. The facility's biological security systems were formidable, deadly to most species, but merely an inconvenience to humans. The captive scientists are being held here. Elena highlighted a section of the holographic display. Central Research Wing, heavily guarded. The Earth specimens are in the adjacent laboratory. Conventional infiltration would trigger multiple alarm systems, Commander Okafor noted. But their biological barriers are their primary defense. Chen smiled slightly. And we just walk right through them. The infiltration team consisted of 6 humans equipped with minimal gear, no bulky armor or weapons that might trigger security scans. Only light tactical vests, communication implants, and small emergency sidearms. Their greatest asset was their bare hands. Remember, Elena briefed the team as they prepared to deploy. Our priority is extracting our people and the Earth specimens. We're not here for revenge or to inflict casualties. The team launched from the Asterisk, Shadow Reach Asterisk, in individual drop pods designed to mimic natural meteor debris. They landed 2 kilometers from the facility perimeter and regrouped under cover of darkness. At the outer security perimeter, they encountered their first barrier, a writhing field of plasma vipers, serpentine creatures whose scales generated electrical fields capable of incinerating most organic matter on contact. "Hello there," Chen whispered, kneeling beside the first massive serpent. It raised its head, bioluminescent patterns flaring in threat display. Chen slowly extended his hand, palm up. The creature's sensory pits flared, detecting his unique biochemistry. After a tense moment, it pressed its head against his palm. "They respond to confidence and calm," Chen instructed the team. "Move slowly but purposefully." One by one, the massive serpents parted, some even seeming to guide the humans through safe paths between their coils. The team slipped through what should have been an impenetrable biological barrier without triggering a single alarm. At the facility's secondary entrance, they encountered acid spitters, insectoid creatures that projected corrosive compounds capable of dissolving standard protective gear. Dr. Santos approached the largest specimen, her hand extended. "These are actually quite intelligent," she whispered as the creature's antennae explored her fingers without releasing its toxic spray. "They're assessing our biochemistry and recognizing we're not a threat." Inside the facility, the team moved silently through corridors guarded by creatures that turned docile at their approach. Creche security officers, relying on biological deterrence rather than constant surveillance, had never anticipated infiltrators who could simply pet their guard beasts into submission. They located the captive scientists in a high-security laboratory. Dr. Lakshmi Chen, the lead researcher and Lieutenant Chen's sister, looked up in shock as the rescue team disabled the electronic locks. "James, how did you get past the—" "We walked in," Chen said with a grim smile. "Where are they keeping the specimens?" Dr. Lakshmi pointed to an adjacent laboratory. "They're extracting toxin compounds, trying to synthesize something that works against human biochemistry. They've nearly succeeded with a modified cone snail venom." While the team prepared the captives for extraction, Elena and Dr. Santos infiltrated the specimen laboratory. Tanks lined the walls containing dozens of Earth's most venomous creatures, modified with Creche genetic technology. "They've been tortured," Dr. Santos whispered, examining a blue-ringed octopus whose rings pulsed in distress patterns. "Harvested repeatedly for venom production." Elena made a quick decision. "We're taking them all. No living being deserves this treatment." As the team began their extraction, a Creche security patrol finally noticed the unusual behavior of their guard creatures. Alarm klaxons shattered the facility's silence. "Move fast," Elena ordered, "and release the specimens we can't transport directly into the ventilation system." Chen understood immediately. Not as weapons. As a distraction, Elena confirmed. "These creatures won't harm us, and most will avoid attacking if not provoked. They'll create confusion while seeking escape routes." The plan worked perfectly. As dozens of Earth specimens moved freely through the facility's air ducts and corridors, Creche security forces scrambled to contain creatures they couldn't safely touch. The human team escaped with all captives and key specimens, leaving behind Creche officers frantically donning protective gear that would ultimately prove inadequate. Aboard the Shadow Reach Asterisk, Dr. Lakshmi reviewed the research data they'd managed to extract. "They're closer than we thought to developing an anti-human toxin," she reported grimly. "But they've also discovered something they don't yet understand, the location of what they're calling Containment Sphere 9. The horizon dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of an unremarkable star system, far from established trade routes. According to the coordinates extracted from the Creche facility, Containment Sphere 9 orbited the system's third planet, a nondescript gas giant with 17 moons. No wonder it's remained hidden, Commander Okafor noted, studying the long-range scans. This system doesn't appear on any Council star charts. Elena ordered the ship into stealth mode as they approached the 9th moon, a small rocky world with a thin but breathable atmosphere. Surface scans revealed artificial structures covering nearly 20% of the moon's surface. Atmospheric composition suggests terraforming, Dr. Santos reported. Multiple biosphere domes, each maintaining different environmental conditions. Power signatures indicate automated systems rather than a large permanent staff. A perfect black site facility, Elena concluded. Isolated, compartmentalized, minimal witnesses. The Horizon deployed a stealth shuttle carrying Elena, Chen, Dr. Santos, and a small security team. They landed near the facility's main administrative complex, a stark utilitarian structure with minimal external defenses. Their confidence is in their isolation, Chen observed as they approached unchallenged. They never expected anyone to find this place. Inside, they discovered a control center staffed by only 3 creche technicians who surrendered immediately, shocked by the human intrusion. The facility's security systems were easily overridden, giving them access to the central database. "This isn't just a research station," Dr. Santos whispered as she examined the files. "It's a repository, a living archive of dangerous species from across the galaxy. Some of these are classified as extinct." The database contained records for over 12,000 species, organized by toxicity levels, military applications, and evolutionary origins. Many were labeled with ominous designations like containment breach risk or harvesting schedule. Chen activated the facility schematic, revealing dozens of interconnected biosphere domes. They're keeping everything separated by environmental needs and containment risk. Elena sent retrieval coordinates to the Horizon before addressing her team. "We'll split into 3 groups to document as much as possible. Chen, assess the living conditions in the high-security sectors. Dr. Santos, evaluate the specimen's health status. Commander Okafor, secure the remaining facility staff and download all research data." The true horror of Containment Sphere 9 became apparent as they explored the biosphere domes. Creatures from across the galaxy lived in sterile, minimal habitats designed for efficient harvesting of toxins and venoms rather than welfare. Robotic systems extracted compounds while keeping the specimens alive indefinitely in a state of constant production. In Biosphere Dome 7, Chen discovered something unexpected. A crystalline entity regarded him with obvious intelligence as he approached its containment field. Unlike the instinctive reactions of animals, this being deliberately formed patterns on its surface, complex, repeating geometries suggesting communication. Dr. Santos, Chen called over the comlink, "I think some of these aren't animals. They're trying to communicate." Dr. Santos arrived quickly, bringing specialized sensors. "The crystalline structures are emitting complex biochemical signatures," she confirmed. "When they contact human skin, they produce compound reactions that our nervous systems can interpret as emotions," Chen finished, placing his hand against the containment field. "I'm feeling loneliness, isolation, recognition." Similar discoveries occurred across multiple biospheres. Species previously classified as non-sentient displayed clear signs of intelligence when humans touched them, tactile communication methods that other species couldn't receive due to biochemical incompatibility. They'd been trying to speak for centuries, Dr. Santos realized with horror, but no one could touch them long enough to understand. In Biosphere Dome 12, they found the most disturbing revelation, what appeared to be a communal habitat for Misty, translucent beings that moved like flowing water. When Chen cautiously touched one, the mist partially absorbed into his skin, leaving impressions of coherent thought. "Not animals," Chen whispered, overwhelmed by the contact. "People. Sentient beings imprisoned because their biochemistry was incompatible with creche biology." Elena documented everything, knowing the galactic implications were enormous. They weren't just exposing a secret research facility. They were revealing a centuries-long imprisonment of sentient species misclassified as dangerous animals because no one could safely establish communication with them. Their investigation was interrupted when facility alarms blared. Commander Okafor's voice came urgently through the comm system. Multiple Kresh warships dropping out of FTL. They found us. The council chambers fell into stunned silence as the evidence from Containment Sphere 9 played across the massive holographic displays. Representatives from 37 species watched footage of humans communicating through touch with beings long classified as dangerous, non-sentient creatures. For centuries, we misunderstood. Ambassador Vexlar addressed the assembly, compound eyes reflecting the images. The tactile communion species communicate primarily through biochemical exchanges that only humans can safely receive and interpret. Elena stood beside Cathal, who had become humanity's strongest advocate in council space. Beside them, representatives of the newly liberated sentient species waited. Their forms vary from crystalline structures to misty apparitions to bioluminescent fluid beings. Each wore a specialized translator device developed by human scientists that converted their biochemical communication into audio signals. High Commander Vrask and the Kresh delegation sat in stony silence as their crimes were laid bare. The systematic imprisonment of sentient beings violated the Council's most fundamental laws. The crystalline collective has existed for 18,000 years. Translated the voice of the crystalline, being known as First Facet. We attempted contact with spacefaring species 26 times. Each contact ended with our designation as hazardous biological entities because our touch disrupts most species' nervous systems. The mist consciousness has similar experiences, added the representative of the gaseous entities. Our natural communication occurs through partial molecular exchange with another being's skin. With humans, this creates understanding rather than harm. The Council's Chief Justice, a venerable Ventari whose translucent tendrils showed signs of great age, addressed the Kresh delegation directly. Did your scientists never suspect these were sentient beings? Vrask's scales shifted in patterns of defiance. Biological defense is the cornerstone of Kresh security doctrine. Anything that threatens this paradigm threatens galactic stability. You mean it threatens Kresh dominance? Elena countered evenly. These beings weren't imprisoned for safety. They were imprisoned because their existence challenged your biological advantages. The sanctions against the Kresh Empire were comprehensive. They would surrender control of all biological weapons facilities and face restrictions on military movements. Most significantly, a new council doctrine was established, the protection of biological diversity and communication rights. 1 year later, Elena stood in the observation lounge of the newly constructed tactile embassy station. The massive habitat orbited Earth, serving as headquarters for interspecies communication research and as a home for representatives of the tactile communion species. Chen approached, accompanied by a floating crystalline being that pulsed with colors indicating pleasure. The synthetic skin compound has been improved again, he reported. The new gloves allow non-humans to safely interact with tactile species for up to 4 hours without degradation. Across the chamber, alien children from a dozen worlds gathered around a human teacher. They wore specialized contact gloves as they learned to stroke the iridescent fur of a purring creature once considered deadly. Their faces showed the universal expression of wonder that transcended species differences. Did you ever imagine this outcome when you first petted that death bristler? Kithel asked, joining Elena at the viewport. She smiled, watching as a young Kresh, part of a progressive faction that had rejected their government's position, carefully touched a mist consciousness being with gloved hands. The Kresh child's eyes widened in delight at the communication. Humans spent our evolution surrounded by things that could kill us, Elena reflected. We developed the ability to touch the dangerous not just to survive, but because we never stopped wanting to connect with everything around us. Dr. Santos approached with exciting news. The medical applications of human biochemistry have led to breakthroughs in treatment options for 12 species. The Ventari respiratory condition that was considered incurable has shown 90% improvement rates. Most remarkably, even the creche were beginning to integrate with the new galactic order. A delegation of creche scientists had requested permission to study human biochemistry, not for weapons development, but to improve their own limited ability to interact with other life forms. As the Earth rotated slowly beneath the station, Elena watched humans and aliens working together throughout the embassy. The observation deck's new insignia captured humanity's unexpected gift to the galaxy. A simple human hand, palm open in greeting, surrounded by diverse species reaching toward it. The most important lesson in the universe, the human teacher told her multi-species class, as they carefully petted creatures their ancestors had feared for generations, is sometimes the simplest. Everything deserves a gentle touch.